Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey, y'all. It's me, Tamara. Yeah. So, y'all, I know I'm late. You know what I'm saying? This last week was so crazy that by the time I got my life together, you know what I'm saying? Here we are. I feel like I'm just getting my life together. And really, that's not even true because my life is still in shambles in some ways. But man, this last week was insane. And what I learned this last week, and man, shout out to Lindsey. Really wants to know what it is. You feel me? Man, this whole vulnerability thing that I've been talking about lately, what I realize is not that I have a problem with vulnerability just in general. Like, when I am on the other side of whatever it is, you feel me? I can tell you every detail, every thought, every fear, every insecurity, everything, right? I don't have no problem with that when I'm on this other side. When I'm on the other side, but when I'm in the middle, when I'm in the struggle, when I'm going through, when I'm triggered, when I'm whatever, that's when I don't want to tell people. And what I realize is there are levels to this, because if it's like blatant disrespect where it's like, man, you know what I'm saying? You know what you was doing. I'll tell you that. I don't have no problem letting you know the way that you offended me or whatever. That really doesn't, though, happen often to me. Like, I can't, and I don't mean that in a whatever way, but like, because of who I associate myself and surround myself with, I don't have situations where people blatantly disrespect me. However, when it's something that it's like, well, it bothered me, it made me feel some type of way, but it wasn't like, super blatantly outright disrespectful, I realize that's what I struggle with. I struggle with telling people how I feel, and the reason why is because I realize there have been many times that I've told people how I feel and they've invalidated my feelings. And so the message that sent to me is that, well, don't tell people how you feel when it's, it's not that serious, because they're probably gonna invalidate it anyway. Not true, you know what I'm saying? And I've had some conversations with people where they've been like, you have to believe the best about whoever. You have to believe that. Now, obviously, if they've shown you this, right? Strangers, you can't be. I mean, you believe the best about people, but you know what I'm saying? If someone has shown you who they are, and they've shown you that if they knew they hurt you in that way or offended you in that way, they wouldn't want to. What someone told me is you have to give them like the benefit of knowing that they offended you so that they can correct whatever. And I remember when I had that conversation, I was just, I like gave pushback a little bit, and you know what I mean? And then I was given like 3 opportunities in the same day to like be vulnerable, and they all went well, you know what I'm saying? But it's really interesting because it's like, I have really, and I think it's because I realize I'm grieving. I don't know if I've said this on here. I told a really good friend of mine that, but I don't know if I've said it to y'all. Like, there's been so much loss. I'm an empty nester. We moved. I guess I could tell y'all I changed careers. So I am no longer doing any of the subcontracting work that I was doing that was related to the social work field. I am now the marketing director. So it's so wild to say I got a job. I still have my company. But where we were at with my company is I was kind of, because of the way things went, where I was forced to make a choice and I bet on me. I did a lot of different things and I really don't want to do all that I was doing just to like stay afloat. And so I'm the marketing director at my church, which is wild to think that I'm in full-time ministry, but this is what it looks like. I was doing project management, so it's what I was doing plus, more. It's so dope though. It's like I'm doing writing, I'm the producer on podcasts and content shoots because they have 2 podcasts that they do audio and visuals, and then we are a very content heavy church, so we do a lot of like videos that are either for social medias or for showing, during church or whatever. There's social media stuff. There's this self-fed 365 where different people from the church will record a video of basically what they got from the daily reading and stuff like that. So with that, I do video editing and then the social media account for that, and then even recruiting people and communicating things. That's like a project that's like the first project I've had that's like I completely own it from start till there probably won't be a finish because it'll probably keep going, and that's okay. And so it's been really, really cool. My official first day was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it's been so dope. It's such a interesting thing because I've been going to this church for 10 years. I've been, we'll say for the last like almost a year, been like consistently serving, because I was consistently serving for like 7 or 8 years, and then I took a 7-month break because the Lord told me to sit, and then came back and just went from being the admin to project management to now on staff full time as a marketing director. What's dope about it is it's not the traditional 9 to 5, so I haven't gone back to that, so that's dope. Also, now I can, with my company, decide what like services or whatever I want to offer and have it do what I actually want to do and enjoy doing, and not have the pressure of having to just do stuff to make sure that I have money. But also I love what I do with my new job. Like I write so many different things. Like I write bios for people, I write impact stories, I write descriptions for podcasts and messages and emails and all. It's just all of my creative juices are flowing. Maybe pause because that, whatever. But I love it so much. And so though, with that, the social work field I was in for, golly, like 15 years. And so that's another ending. Then with that, the vehicle that I had was a work vehicle. So when I really felt the Lord say, end that season. So yesterday at the time of this recording, shout out to 12 Cal, but I returned the vehicle. So now I am without a vehicle. Now, the nice thing is that the family that I live with, the wife is on staff at the church too. I think the husband is too. They're just in a different area than me. So like most of the time when I have to be there, they have to be there, or there's somebody that I could get a ride with. We have office days that are like, we have a studio, I should actually say, but there are offices at the studio. And so we go to the studio for sure I'd say like 3 to 4 days a week, depending on what's going on in that week. And so, with that, if I need to get there, I could get a ride. So it's like, even when I need to go to the gym, a lot of people from my church and from the creative team go to the gym. So I'll just get a ride with somebody, usually. It's so funny how I don't be one to say people's names on here. Like I'll say my kids' names, but when it comes to other people, I just be like, y'all don't, don't know. Like, y'all don't need to know everybody name like that. Lindsey's been on the show, so that's why I'll say her name, because between just being a guest and then SendTamZ, like, y'all know who that is. But anybody else, I just feel like y'all ain't gonna know who that is anyway. But one of my friends has been really, especially the gym, because like not everybody goes like consistently or goes when I would go or whatever. So I'll ask him like, hey, when are you gonna go? And then just ride with him. Now it's funny because with that, I had to get over feeling self-conscious about riding in somebody's car after like working out, because just, yeah, but I had to get over that because it's like I can't not go. And I mean, I don't have a car right now. Because there was even times when the car like didn't work, and just all this stuff. So yeah, lots of endings, and so with that, lots of grieving, and so with that, my emotions have been like really, really raw. And I remember telling him, this same person, that I don't, for whatever reason, and I know it's a me thing because no one has done anything to me, but I was telling him how I don't feel secure in any of my relationships, and I want to push everybody away and shut down, because that's my thing. Like, even when I get really, really upset with people, I'm not the go off on you type person. That is extremely rare. I am the shut down and just shut you out and you don't exist to me type person. No one's done anything though, and so I remember telling him that I'm like, I'm trying not to do that, because y'all don't deserve that, but this is like just where I'm at or whatever. And he was able to encourage me and all that, but it's just like, even telling him that, like, there's that vulnerability, because you don't know how somebody's going to receive that. But what I appreciate about it is he didn't invalidate my feelings or make it about him, because it wasn't about him. Like, some people might get defensive, like, especially he's like done a lot for me, or a lot of times is like my soundboard or just whatever. And so it could have been easy for him to get in his feelings and be like, what you mean you don't feel secure in our friendship? Like, but he didn't, because it wasn't about him. But even with that, that was a vulnerable conversation I had last week. I had a conversation with my boss where I was just kind of like telling her I'm in a new role and there's just lots of stuff going on. And so I was just kind of telling her some stuff. That was a vulnerable conversation. Then I had a conversation with somebody else who, they sent a text message, and it wasn't, again, it wasn't blatantly disrespectful, but it's just like this one part of the text message just kind of had me like, I'm not feeling that. And then I told her, but it's like I debated on it if I was even going to say anything, because it's like, yeah. So it's, man, but you know what? On the other side of each of those conversations, like, trust was built with that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different levels of trust with each of those three conversations, but it's like, yeah, trust. I feel like I feel more secure in our relationships. It's interesting to say my boss, because it's like when you're in ministry, it's just such a different thing than the traditional work environment, because I will go to church regardless, actually, and I've been at this church 10 years. So like, I have deep relationships with a lot of the people that I now work with that I had not because we were coworkers. You know what I'm saying? And even that is just such a weird term for me to even think about at all, just because, again, I've been a part of this church now. It'll be 11 years this year. And so it's just, it's really interesting. But vulnerability, though, it is a lot of work, because I had to, with each of those conversations, really decide, I know that this yuck in my heart could cause division. You really can't have division in any situation when you're supposed to be working together, but especially in ministry. And so that's always something that's in my mind, that I'm just like, I don't want to be the reason that there's division on our team, because we are like the directors. And so that's going to be felt by the people on our teams that we work with. You know what I'm saying? And you just, nah. And so it's just, it's work though, right? And I'm proud of myself because I felt where I was starting to try to shut people out. Like I felt where I was just starting to be different, and I didn't like that because I had especially with one friend in particular, I appreciate our friendship, but I could feel when I was trying to push him away, not blatantly but just subtle ways of trying to shut down, but then I didn't like how that felt because it was contrary to the rapport we have built up to that point. It just, but that's been my normal patterns and habits with people. It's like this fear of abandonment when you get too close. There's this point where they're going to get tired of you or whatever. And I realize where that comes from is from my bio dad, because whether it's he gets tired of me or whatever, it's his own issues. It's not a me thing, it's a him thing, but I'm the one that feels the effects of it. But it's just been this thing with him where it's oh, I'm so happy this, all these promises of this, that, and the other, and then you ghost me, and you just, you don't want nothing to do with me, you know what I mean? And so I realized that's something that I have to fight against if I want to have deep and meaningful relationships. There has to be vulnerability. If I ever want to be in a relationship, I have to be able to tell whoever I'm with, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm struggling with. It's not a you thing, it's a me thing, but just so you're aware of what I'm going through. I have to be able to tell him that, and he has to be a safe space for that, obviously, but it's I have to also be vulnerable enough to say that instead of just start finding reasons to try to push people away, because I realize that's been my natural bent, and so it's been a really interesting week. And then I went to see my grandbaby on Friday. I love him. I don't know. I don't understand how people could feel any differently about their grandchild. I can't always see him. It makes me sad, but I FaceTime Kayliana almost every day. The only days I don't is when it's super hectic and then I'm just too tired to whatever. But I went to see him Friday, and man, it was so funny because I was holding him, and he was I had him facing me, but he was sitting on my lap, and I was talking to him, and he just looked up at me and started smiling out of nowhere. Basically, he was saying, "Nana, I love you, and you're the greatest Nana ever." And I hear you, and I feel the same. You know what I'm saying? That I love you so much, and you're the greatest grandbaby ever. And then they came to church today, and I'm just telling him, I love you so much, and you're the cutest baby ever. And it's just so cool how loved he is. And it's so cool, even watching his dad, just speak life over him and tell him things I love you so much. I'm so glad you're in our life. You're my best friend. And just, stuff like that. It's just, yeah, and it's so cool because he went to children's church, and mind you, he's never been to daycare or anything at all. So I wasn't sure how he would do. I hoped it'd be all right, and I prayed, and they said he was fine. He didn't cry or anything. And so it's just, he was awake and just looking around, and he's 3 months now. So he's, can hold his head up, and yeah, it's always a good time, and I'm always my heart is always really full after I see him, just because I just think wow, this is, and it's so funny because I've lately, and it's really interesting because, so I remember when I got divorced. Now mind you, this was 17 years ago. But I remember when I got divorced saying, I want somebody who doesn't have any kids. And it's not because I don't like kids, because I love kids, but just because I have 3 kids, and it's not even about adding extra kids, because I'll finish the rest of that thought, but it's adding extra, like, other people. You know what I'm saying? It's just adding a lot of extra people, and I wanted to, like, minimize what it would be like to have a blended family. So I remember saying, I want somebody who doesn't have kids, and I'd be willing to have more kids. And it's so funny because I'm older than I was, obviously, now when I said that, but it's like, it's really interesting because I've thought about that a lot lately. Like, I mean, I know there are people that are like my age that have had either their first kid or had another kid, or there's just so many things. And so I've been really going back and forth with, would I have another kid? And it's so funny because when I'm with Zaire, I'm like, man, I would, even though I know, like, I don't know. So I'm not even dating anyone. So this is a very premature thought process. But at the same time, it's not, because I have to already have my mind made up about certain things, because if somebody having kids is like a non-negotiable and I don't want kids, then I need to already know that, you know what I mean? Or if I'm willing to have 1 or 2 more, I mean, we gonna have to hurry up though, because, and be praying like, Lord, make sure the baby's healthy, just because, and that's only because I'm older. But we'll see. But again, I don't know what the we'll see looks like, because I am very single, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, like, it's been an interesting week as always. I've really enjoyed, though, like, I finally fully, besides the vehicle, right? I am really grateful to be like, that chapter is closed with the subcontracting work that I was doing, because I'm excited for the first time in my life to just be all in, focused on one thing, and all the things that I do are in one area, because it's always been, I've served at this church in different ways for as long as I've been here. So I'm serving, I work here, I live there, I this, that. I'm also was in school at different points, and just all the things. That's always been how my life has been, gosh, for the last, I want to say, almost probably 15 years, because what's fortunate for me is that I was able to get in the social work field before I graduated college. So like while I was in school, I was able to get a job in the field. And so, yeah, it's always been this divided attention, and me doing the best that I can to like make it work between many different things. So it feels so nice to just be like, everything I do is really just encompassed, for the most part, under one umbrella, if nothing else. Because even when I start doing stuff with my company, it'll be something creative, but it's going to be project based, and maybe teach workshops. It's not going to be any more coaching services, just because there's a lot that I do with pouring into people within the body in different ways, because I lead a small group and just all these things. And so it's like, I don't really want to, I can only pour out so much. I can only pour out so much. And so I have to be wise with that. And like with coaching services, it's not just like, I care too deeply for it to just be, oh, let me teach you this one thing real quick. You know what I mean? And so me knowing that about me, I gotta be wise. But yeah, it's like, feels really good to just be all in, as we say, with just one thing. But it's so dope that within that thing, I get to do so many different things. So it's like, I am very much the type of person that like likes to have different things to do so that I could switch from this to that. And so it's like, it's really just the perfect setup for like needing meaningful work, being in the creative space, liking to check things off the to-do list. So there are like some like, oh, this is a quick task where I just got to do this real quick or whatever, and it's not really time consuming. And then it's just, yeah. But then there's a lot of, grieving and even like figuring out who am I, because so much of my identity has been in being in the social work field and being a mom. I'm still a mom. It just looks different now. And so it's like my entire adulthood, everything that I identified as have been stripped away. Then let's even take it a step further. I am very dependent right now because I'm staying with somebody. Because there was, for transparency's sake, as I was shifting, sacrifices were made to be able to get to where I'm at. So it's like to be able to devote more time to where I knew the Lord was calling me, I stopped taking, dwindled down my clientele. Now, didn't have rent or anything like that to think about, but it's like now, okay, I have a consistent and steady salary. I know what I could be comfortable paying for bills. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now let's start looking for a place. But I don't have a place yet. So I'm living with someone, and then now I don't even have my own car. So I have to, mind you, anywhere I need to go, I will be able to get there. I'm literally not worried about that. But it's the whole thing about having to ask somebody for a ride and having to remind myself that I'm not a burden to people if they say yes, right? So yeah, that is where I'm at, and yeah, it's been such an interesting an interesting season, but also like a really good season. Like I genuinely appreciate the people that I do life with, like different people for different reasons in different ways, but I'm so appreciative of what I get to do and who I get to do it with. I spend a lot of time, like it's interesting even being back in an office and like doing all that, because I've worked so autonomously for such a while. Because even think about it, when the pandemic started, I was working from home. So I was, so that was in 2020. So then to be 2023 towards the end, because we got the office studio in December, then after 3.5 years going back to, okay, you got to be here from this time to this time, that was an interesting adjustment. But it's good for me because I'm more productive when I'm in a space that's kind of conducive for productivity, rather than being at home where you're just easily distracted by so many things, because your mind does not necessarily associate home with being productive. It associates home with like all these other things. And so yeah, it is very interesting season. It's even weird because I'm recording in a different way. Now when I move, I'll get back to visuals and all that, and I'm actually excited to get back to that. And I already have a new desk. I didn't have a like traditional desk set up. I had like some folding tables I was using, but I was given a desk and it was like I wanted a desk like that. So it's just really cool. And so I'm excited to get back to that like when we get there. But now it's Spotify for podcasters. It used to be Anchor, and I used to just, when I stopped doing visuals, record on their site. Well, now they're like, you got to do it through Riverside. Now I'm not unfamiliar with them because I had heard about them for whatever, kind of toyed around with it, but didn't do anything with it. And so it's just, even I'm recording this episode in a different way. Now, what I appreciate about this is that you can actually record longer episodes, part of the reason why my episodes were always less than 30 minutes is because that's the limit that Spotify for podcasters had on the website. And so I actually can go longer than 30 minutes if needed. And so I do, I guess, like that. We'll see if I use their visuals we'll see what I do when I get back to that, because I really do like StreamYard. I didn't really have any issues with it that I remember. It's been so long though since I recorded visuals that, yeah, but I'm gonna get back to it. I gotta, y'all know how I am about my background. I'm particular about, and it's so funny because I don't know if it was Audrey, Autumn, Chris, Jay. One of them sent a clip from a podcast happy hour we did. And it's just so funny when they'll pull up these old clips of just all the different backgrounds I had, because I would always make sure that I could record my show. This is honestly the first time, because I've lived different places and have stayed, like I stayed with my mom, I stayed with my brother. So like I've lived different places in the last 4 years. This is the first time ever where I was like, I'm not doing visuals, and that's actually kind of crazy. And I'm, but there's other content I want to record too, and it'll be a new season, and because I've never lived by myself, so that'll be different. I'm sure tears will be shed, but it is what it is. So that is all I have for y'all today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're taking care of yourself mentally. Make sure you're taking care of yourself emotionally. Make sure you are taking care of yourself spiritually and physically, and you got to do all of those things. Be good to yourself so that you can be healthy in your relationship. So I love y'all so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for